Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais. We are back yet again. And ladies and gentlemen, nothing has warmed my heart more than to say, I welcome to the show, Mr. Sean Keenan.
I'm back and I'm bringing Heidi with me.
Oh, let me tell you, it's exciting. Yeah, and that Bruce Leslie guy, too.
Oh, I'm a prickly pear, and I'm also one of the hoary hosts of Hogarth.
Oh, indeed he is. So Sean has been gone for some time. See, he's not dead. People really were just like, I think he's dead. I think he said, you know, kiss off to the show, and I'm done with this. Forget these guys. But no.
If you play the podcast backwards, it says Sean's dead.
That's why I was in bare feet in the last photo we took.
Oh,
I should point out. I'm sorry that my voice is blown out. Everybody, I was busy screaming at my television while watching this terrible, awful, garbage movie.
well,
Awful, and also just to keep up, because I haven't been on in a long time, 8 episodes. Just to catch up, Green Hornet was a terrible TV show. Ghost Rider's just Daredevil with a motorcycle. Batman Killing Joke, I didn't see it. Suicide Squad, worst bad guy ever in a superhero movie. Incredible Hulk returns. That's my Thor. The Tick costume is weird. Iron Man, second best superhero movie ever made. Men in Black, the worst year of summer movies, but that's the best movie of that year.
oh,
right.
I don't know. This summer was pretty lackluster.
This summer had Civil War, sir.
Well, technically you're true. All right. So, yeah, you're right.
And I'm starting to think you didn't actually go see 9 Lives, Adam.
of all the many things that I have seen, that was one that we were just like, nah, I think we're okay. So, but yeah, man. So, welcome back to the show. I finished fighting those Frank Miller ninjas as always. So, you know, we figured, hey, let's bring them back on a high note. So today we're going to be reviewing the Doctor Strange animated movie from Marvel Studios and Lionsgate from 2007.
And Sean, for the record, I suggested this to Adam because I said, Sean doesn't like these animated things. Let's do it while he's gone. And then you just happened to come back.
And then he's like, I'm back on board. And we're like, oh, crud.
I will tell you, there is nothing that feels more like you're wasting your life away than watching these things. So there you go.
We're nothing if not consistent. So, first of all, we got to say thank you to everybody who gets out there and reviews us on iTunes. That's one of the biggest things that helps this show get flowing. And we see the numbers, man. We got more and more downloads every single week. And so we thank you guys for going out there, giving us a 5-star review on iTunes, because that helps people find this podcast when they're throwing in the little search terms and all that stuff. And people don't just do it here in the U.S. of A. We have other people there as well. And Bruce, I think you have one of our reviews here for us, yeah?
Oh, yes, I do. It is a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger?
Okay, I was worried I was going to have to do my own humdinger there. And it's called Holy Chowder Buckets from the United Kingdom, as you said. The person who left it is Dave Horrocks, and it says, these hosts are quick-witted and have a great choice of words to implant those mental images and get their point across. Their commitment to churn these episodes out regularly while having to endure some of the worst comic book movies of all time is impressive, as is the knowledge each of them brings to the table and bring their perspective. It is strange how the Robin rating system actually starts to become intuitive after a while, and research put into the Stallone Connection is admirable, and the delivery never fails to amuse. Although creating a rod for your own back is the most apt adage for Mr. Keenan there. Mm-hmm. Not quite sure what that last bit meant.
I don't know either, but we'll go with it.
It's
English.
In
quote marks, so I would guess you probably said that at some point, Sean.
I'll say this, though. I realized halfway through that, oh, yeah, he sent me an email with this review in there. I'm like, this sounds awful familiar, and I know I don't peruse the UK charts too often. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he sent me an email to add this in there. But, you know, we read it straight from the iTunes mouth, as it were, so.
Yes.
Thank you for that, man. And like we said, this helps it out, you know, just get other people into listening to the show, man. So whatever country you're in, drop us a 5-star review. And if you're in a country other than the U.S. of A., copy and paste that bad boy, just like our friend, what was his name again?
Dave Horrocks.
Dave. So we're gonna call him Dave, just for because I think we're on that basis right now that we can just call him Dave because he's our friend. And
thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. And that we'd really appreciate that, man. So copy and paste that bad boy if you're outside the U.S. Let us know what it is. HeroMoviePodcast@gmail.com. Speaking of people who help them make the world go round, everybody, we're going to talk a little bit about our good friends over at Patreon who have decided to help out our tiny little show here by giving of their monetary value to help keep this train going here, boys and girls. So we're going to go ahead and thank them out here, and more stuff's going to be coming. We've been talking before the show and everything. With the wheels are cranking here over at the HMP, and we got some ideas for you guys. So really, we want to thank Louis Longshadow, Eric Freeman, Mike Eastep, Gorgon Campy, Khalil DeMaco, Matthew Schnapp, and we got Holly Betafu and Jim Beverly. And Jim Beverly, you're going to be at the top of the list here, buddy. This is going to be your episode this week, my man. So you are our executive producer. Jim Beverly has been listening to this show super long time, and he's actually been he's the highest Patreon person that we have right now, because it tells you how much they've given you over the long haul. Jim Beverly has given us the most money here. And Jim, you are a saint amongst men, and we appreciate that. And anything that you want from us, you're going to get it, big boy, because you flipping deserve it, man, for helping us out here. And we've kind of revamped the Patreon stuff a little bit here. And really, we want to get as many people involved as possible. And here's the thing. We're not asking you all to be just like Jim Beverly. It's tough to be that handsome and generous, you know? So
yeah.
So we got this new level. So even if you pledge $1, so patreon.com/HMP, that's patreon.com/HMP. Even if you drop in $1, we got a new one where with that dollar reward comes, number one, our thanks, because you're a flippin' awesome person for helping us out. But what we're going to do is every month we're going to have a list of movies, and you guys are going to vote for which one you want us to review. This way, you guys have a little bit more hand in the show. We want everybody that, helps us out and everything to have, a little bit of their say. Now, if we'd love to have it to where everybody could put in their own voice, but there'd be too many, and you can't vote that way. It's pretty difficult. So we're going to have about 4 or 5 different movies every month. Say, hey, which one of these do you guys want to see? And you guys get to vote on it. And it's only going to cost you $1. So, you can find that sitting around in your couch cushions. But there's so we'd appreciate that. And of course, there's, more different levels up there, all the way up to the executive producer, like our good friend Jim Beverly here. So check out patreon.com/HMP. The link is in the show notes and everything. So we'd appreciate you guys going down, checking out all the stuff. And yeah, man, it's just it helps the show. We want to be big time.
And a $1 can go a long way, is what I was trying to throw in there. So if several folks could lump those dollars together, it would really help keep this show funded. It would also help give us the opportunity to do a little bit more for the Patreon shows that we haven't done as well as we'd like to. That would be a lot easier to do with a few more of those dollars. And I've got lots of thoughts on interesting stuff. So I hope people jump on board and light that fire under us.
Yeah, and I'm here to give you guys a whole lot more stuff. I mean, I just dropped some bank on an editing system. If you've gone on to facebook.com/HeroMoviePodcast, you saw the teaser for this episode that I kind of drummed up and everything. And I want you guys to, I hope you guys like that. And a lot of people have, given big thumbs up on that and everything. And people tend to enjoy it. So that's what I kind of want to do. I want to bring more stuff, more value to you guys and whatnot. And that's what we're here to do. We're just here to create a big old giant community of love and happiness. You know what I mean? And we get to celebrate all these, horrible, horrible movies. And before we get started, because I swear we're about to start the movie, but we did get a shout out. I was catching up on some podcasts and stuff, and one of my regular podcasts that I listen to, Trick or Treat Radio, they had a segment where one of the members actually did his top 13 podcasts, and guess who was at number 10, boys? Good old-fashioned HMP.
Oh, I was going to guess that the Canon, that Faraci thing.
What are you trying to make me throw up in my mouth? You gross man.
I was going to guess one of Bill Simmons' new podcasts.
Yeah, that's not with these guys. I love him to death, but no. But yeah, man. So thanks to Mars there for giving us the shout out and everything. Though I feel we got a little bit short shrifted, and I've got to yell at Johnny Wolfenstein a little bit for that because he's just like, as soon as Mars starts to go in about, hey, here's what the show does, then we kind of got derailed for half a minute. So I'm gonna send in a voicemail to that show. But love those guys, love their show. So Trick or Treat Radio, check out their podcast, everybody. Let's get into it, gentlemen. Here is the trailer for Doctor Strange from 2007.
From the producers who brought you Ultimate Avengers, the movie, Ultimate Avengers 2, and The Invincible Iron Man, comes the next installment of Marvel animated features.
The position of Sorcerer Supreme was destined to be yours.
Doctor Strange.
Prepare yourself.
Enter a new dimension of the Marvel Universe,
I've never faced these creatures before.
where only the most powerful magic can transform this mystical doctor
Control the forces around your hands, and limitations become irrelevant.
into the Sorcerer Supreme.
He is ready.
What was that?
Dormammu. He is coming.
The creatures move with increasing confidence.
Dormammu's influence grows stronger.
Where is it now?
On its way to the city. I'm Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. Look for it on DVD and Blu-ray.
All right, that was a trailer for Doctor Strange from 2007. Here's the IMDb plotline. A crippled and embittered doctor travels to a hidden community in Tibet where he learns his true destiny as a sorcerer supreme of his world. This is directed by Patrick Archibald and Jay Oliva, who we've actually done other movies of his as well. Dick Sebest and Frank Pure? Sure, why not?
Yep, perfect. Killed it.
That's what I thought. So we've covered Doctor Strange as a character on this show before in the now legendary episode, I want to say 27 of HMP, of the Doctor Strange made-for-TV movie. So Bruce not being one to repeat himself too very often, what do you got for us this week for the Comic Book Connection, my man?
Well, Doctor Strange is a rare Silver Age Marvel property due to the fact that Stan Lee was never able to shoehorn himself in as co-creator.
I tried as best I could, true believer, but they kept me out of the room.
Strange was created by Steve Ditko and Steve Ditko only. And here's how Ditko describes it. On my own, I brought into Lee a 5-page penciled story with a page panel script of my idea of a new, different kind of character for variety in Marvel Comics. My character wound up being named Doctor Strange because he would appear in Strange Tales. And regarding that first appearance, here's what Lee had to say. The first story is nothing great. That's the end of Lee's quote. All parties involved agree that the early stories were inspired by a radio show called Chandu the Magician that aired in the 1930s, back when Stan Lee was only middle-aged. Now, apparently, Chandu was one of the longest-running radio serials in America, and it was sponsored by Beech Nut Gum, and I guess that's better than Ovaltine.
No.
But the show was about American-born Frank Chandler, who had learned occult secrets from a yogi in India. Known as Chandu, he possessed several supernatural skills, including astral projection, teleportation, and the ability to create illusions. Chandu's goal was to go forth with his youth and strength to conquer the evil that threatens mankind. So I think we can see the obvious similarities with Stephen Strange's story there. When he first appeared in Strange Tales, the good doctor found an unexpected audience. You've got to remember that Stan the Man didn't think the story was very good. His origin didn't involve any type of radiation. Now, according to comic historian Mike Benton, college students, minds freshly opened by psychedelic experiences and Eastern mysticism, read Ditko and Lee's Doctor Strange stories with the belief of a recent Hare Krishna convert. Meaning was everywhere, and readers analyzed the Doctor Strange stories for their relationship to Egyptian myths, Sumerian gods, and Jungian archetypes. To put it in simpler terms, drugs in the 60s did wonders for Doctor Strange. People describe the scenes in the comics as being similar to experiences that they had while high on mushrooms, but I wouldn't know anything about that because I'm a peyote man. Now, Bradford Wright, another historian, had this to say. Steve Ditko contributed some of his most surrealistic work to the comic book and gave it a disorienting, hallucinogenic quality. Doctor Strange's adventures take place in bizarre worlds and twisting dimensions that resembled Salvador Dali paintings. Inspired by the Pulp Fiction magicians of Stan Lee's childhood, as well as by contemporary beat culture, Doctor Strange remarkably predicted the youth counterculture's fascination with Eastern mysticism and psychedelia. Never among Marvel's more popular or accessible characters, Doctor Strange still found a niche among an audience seeking a challenging alternative to more conventional superhero fare. About 10 years later, suggesting that the folks at Marvel may have still been on drugs, a made-for-TV movie starring Peter Hooton was produced. But unfortunately, the counterculture hero of the 60s failed to find a following in the disco era. But the story of the egotistical neurosurgeon with damaged hands learning powerful magic from the Ancient One sallies forth. While studying under the Ancient One, Strange meets a guy named Carl Mordo. Strange foiled Baron Mordo's plot to kill the Ancient One, leading to Baron Mordo being cast out and Doctor Strange eventually becoming Sorcerer Supreme. Mordo would clash with Doctor Strange on a multitude of occasions, and at times with the backing of the demon Dormammu. And who is Dormammu? Well, he's an entity that lives in the dark dimension where he is a god tyrant lording over the dark dimension denizens. He's a bad guy, and he's a bad guy who wants to do bad stuff. So Doctor Strange is in a perpetual battle against him and his horde known as the Mindless Ones. He's kind of the Sauron to Doctor Strange's Gandalf. Oh. So I guess that makes Wong Frodo. I don't know. The analogy kind of starts to break down if you explore it too much. Oh, by the way, Dormammu's also really good at Kung Fu. I forgot to mention that. So take that, Sauron. Now, Doctor Strange has had 50 years of off-center comic book adventures for tilted minds, and he will soon star in a big-budget 3D Thanksgiving feast. But today's question is, will his animated adventure be a satisfying feast or just, as Sean would probably say, an undercooked turkey?
Mm-hmm. And that's honestly, that's one of the big reasons why we're doing this movie now, is because we're like, hey man, so the Doctor Strange Benedict Cumberbatch joint is coming out in November, so because chances are, if Marvel's track record is anything to be put up, they've been doing a pretty good job. So chances are, if we went back to this after that, boy, oh boy, would the disappointment be maybe even higher. So at this point, we're like, let's get this bad boy out of the way because we've already done the made-for-TV movie way back in episode 27. So let's get this bad boy done already. Now, Sean, you had seen this previously, yeah?
I had. For some reason, I remembered liking it, but times have changed. I
You've grown a lot
stopped
since
counting
2007.
after 45 minutes when doctors say what?
You've grown a lot since 2007.
Well, I have, and there's been some failures, there's been some triumphs. Anyway, I stopped counting after about 45 minutes. Doctor Strange still no powers, still not, They should call this movie a bunch of other guys besides Doctor Strange, because that's what this movie is. And one of the movie, I say movie with a lowercase m. There's three things that are totally wrong with this movie, in my opinion. One, the pacing of this movie is so slow. It's so slow. Two, everybody that's in this movie is a voiceover guy or girl, and voiceover people, there is a reason why why people consider you lesser than an actual actor. And I bring to you Exhibit A, this Doctor Strange movie, because everyone is so hammy and over the top, and there's never, just regular acting in this movie. Even quiet moments are like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's ridiculous. It makes me crazy. And the third thing about this movie is that why does the white guy constantly have to save everybody? Why is it always the white guy? There's nationalities from everywhere in this movie, which is pretty cool. I like that part. But it takes one middle-aged white guy to save everybody. It's so ridiculous. It makes me crazy.
Man. If you got a few minutes, I can tell you all about what American media was like in the 60s when Doctor Strange was created.
But this wasn't, come on, Bruce. This movie wasn't made in the 60s.
But it's a pretty, I won't say real close, but it's a close enough retelling of the origin story. So that's how it all kind of falls apart or falls into place, however you want to look at it.
Let's be honest, though, guys. Did any of those dudes in Tibet have wicked-looking cars? I don't think so.
Yeah, I bet, though, to support Sean's point, I bet Benedict Cumberbatch's version has a gentler touch about some of those things.
Yeah, you probably won't.
And not only that, but I got to tell you, I'm a little bit nervous about Doctor Strange. And don't get me wrong, I know Marvel is great, and Marvel has done a terrific job on almost every property that they've touched so far. But this one here, Doctor Strange, for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of the character. And Bruce, correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, the only story that's worth reading is Brian K. Vaughan's The Oath. To me, like that's the best Doctor Strange story I've ever read, and it's the only one I've ever been interested in.
Yeah, you know what? I would say you're not far off, and I've even known folks that aren't that impressed with the Vaughn story. I think it's sort of the novelty of Doctor Strange, and that's why it doesn't work so well in a standalone title. But it's kind of to me, I like to read the trades of the old stuff just to kind of take it in context with what everybody was seeing there and how it was so different from everything else in comics. And then when they try to make Doctor Strange an Avenger in the 80s forward, it just doesn't work as well for me.
And a lot of those older books and everything were like, he was only like half the book.
Oh, and Strange Tales, yeah, it was a backup feature. You got your Human Torch story, then you got your Doctor Strange story.
So it wasn't like, he had even a full book to himself at that time. I always kind of liked him as more of the kind of secondary player, a guy who would come in who was kind of just a part of the Illuminati. If you needed somebody to do some like crazy like interdimensional kind of wackiness and stuff, he's on board, right?
Where you're touching right now, Adam, is what I would call the Punisher zone. I mean, you're in that rarefied air where the character is pretty cool, but the character to me cannot have his own storyline. Like he's the perfect side dish, not the entree.
And for me, I like the way he looked. That was about it. I like the covers. I like the way he looked. He's a cool guy to have on one of those old blacklight posters that were so popular when I was of a certain age. But I can't think of any stories that really gripped me with him in them. But I still like the idea that he is a character that exists. You know what I mean?
No, I get that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I like the character just fine, but I don't need to know his inner workings. Like he's the crazy magic man. That's all I need. And let's move on. Help out Spider-Man when he gets himself into a scrape, and let's move on.
And I think the best use of him was briefly in Secret Wars last year. He was, Secret Wars last year started off as a very Game of Thrones ripoff type of story, and Doctor Strange was the Littlefinger in the story in the beginning.
That
was good casting.
Cool.
He's got a lot of mystical ladies who do the stuff.
Mystical ladies who do the stuff, yeah. I mean, they even had a wall, for goodness sake.
Well, there you go.
I do like. I do have to say, I did like Doctor Strange during his time with New Avengers, where he kept casting spells so no one could see them work. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, and I kind of liked the concept of the Sorcerer Supreme when it went away from Doctor Strange for a while. The Scarlet Witch was in line to be the Sorcerer Supreme, and then Brother Voodoo became Dr. Voodoo or whatever there for a while when he was the Sorcerer Supreme. So I like the idea that the mantle's been passed around a little bit, but Stephen Strange, it's sort of hard to have much with him past the origin story that a lot of folks can relate to.
Well, and
what was Doctor Strange doing when Brother Voodoo was the Sorcerer Supreme? I would like to think that he's like, like one of those like child actors where he's like, yeah, you guys should have seen me. Oh, I was the best. I wasn't just a sorcerer. No. I was the Sorcerer Supreme.
He got a job writing articles for WebMD, I think, during that time period.
I thought he opened up a chain of chicken shacks. That's just my
Strange
thought.
Chicken, that was the name of it.
Yeah, you never know what kind you're going to get. You just kind of bite into it and just like, what
Drop on in and get some Strange. That was their logo.
That's not gravy.
Speaking of Littlefinger. Here we go. So no, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I like the I've always liked the origin of Doctor Strange. This guy who is just this, I'm too arrogant, good for everybody,
man. And he's arrogant. He's materialistic, and then the story of his downfall and redemption. I mean, it's a awesome concept. It's an awesome story, and that's why I say beyond his origin story, I think people struggle to really tell good stories with him, and that's why you kind of are going to get his origin story in every adaptation. We got the Peter Hooten origin, we got the animated origin.
Let's come on, that calling that an origin's a little bit. That's a little loose play right there.
But, I mean, if they had picked it up as a series, it's kind of hard. Where does he go beyond the origin story? I mean, in the comics, Doctor Strange comics don't usually sell real well. They can, they get their little niche audience who like the mystical stuff, but it all just kind of feels like the same sort of stuff. It's just the demon has a different name, Yeah. So it gets kind of tricky.
And with me, in the modern era here, they just don't know what to do with Wong. I mean, it was pretty easy in the 60s because, that's his manservant. But you can't say the words manservant anymore.
He definitely got a power up in this animated movie. I mean, he was probably as skilled as Mordo or Strange in this movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and they referred to him as a wet nurse at one point, which I thought was pretty great.
And, man, they had a lot more martial arts in this movie than I expected.
There is a whole lot of kicking. There's a lot of kicking in this movie.
I'm kind of hoping that that's the route they go with the Cumberbatch movie, is a little bit of Benedict doing some mystical kung fu.
Come on. Can you really see him doing some Van Damme moves? Come on.
I want to see him do a chin-high 360-degree kick and take out a bunch of demons with nunchucks.
You know what I keep thinking about, because I just saw Cumberbatch's movie the other night. I can't remember what it's called, where he's the guy who breaks the code, the German code. I can't remember.
The touring
Intimidation Game is the name of the movie.
Yeah, that's
Imitation Game. Yeah,
the Imitation Game. I saw him in Imitation Game where he plays. Wow, wouldn't you know it? He plays this stuffy, stuck-up, brilliant scientist again. Like we need a brilliant, stuffy, stuck-up scientist. Who do we get?
Well,
is Cumberbatch available?
Let's get the Sherlock guy.
Here's the thing, man. For me, I was just like, there's no better guy to play it than that. And I think overall, you're right. This movie, again, I think I probably, now again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the guys that I absolutely love this movie, but I think I like the movie more up to the point of during the origin story itself. Once, him trying to figure out who he is, he gets all the way up to Tibet. He's got these crippled hands and everything. For those that don't know, he's this real, arrogant guy and everything. Brilliant surgeon, neurosurgeon and whatnot. Gets into a car accident, gets all jacked up, and can't use his hands anymore. So he's going to Go ahead.
I want to dive a little deeper in this origin story because I have a question for you guys. We've already made a few Game of Thrones references here, but in some of those flashbacks with Doctor Strange and his younger sister, because he becomes a neurosurgeon because of his younger sister's mysterious illness, but some of those flashbacks, did they give you just a little Cersei and Jaime Lannister vibe? There was something creepy about the way they interacted, and they're animated, man. So I don't know where I got that chemistry from, but didn't you guys think they were...
It was odd.
An oddly close family.
The big thing was
there's far too much wrestling happening with those two people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was like, there was more like straight punching when I was with with my siblings.
And,
it was more like, I'm going to punch you in the face kind of thing. More not like, oh, this is kind of like, that's like, when you're like in middle school and you're just like, horsing around with your girlfriend and stuff, and it might lead to a little kissing or something.
And I went to medical school with some siblings, a brother and sister, that kind of gave me the same creepy vibe. So I had a few little flashbacks. This guy's in his medical training, and man, he is way too handsy with his sister. So
Donnie
it made me
and
feel
Marie action.
uneasy through the whole film.
No, I can see that. And I'll be honest with you, up until like the second flashback, I didn't even realize that was him.
Yeah, at first I thought I must have just assumed that's his sister. That's like his girlfriend, right? And then later he makes it clear, no, that's his sister. But man, they were a close family.
So that's how it is in that family.
Yeah, that's why he always looked forward to the family reunion.
But, I guess this, it was interesting enough, and I like how that did give at least a little bit of stakes to this character and made him a bit, I guess you could say that was a bit why he was maybe a little bit more cynical, perhaps.
Yeah, I guess.
I got a question for you guys. So, Mordo is training Strange, and he's really going rough on him, on Strange there, right? And Wong steps in and he's like, hey, your goal is to train him, not kill him. And so Wong takes over and trains Doctor Strange more. So my question to you guys is, let's say Wong isn't around. Let's say Wong is on a fishing expedition or something. Yeah. And Mordo keeps training Strange. Does Strange then become just like this like cool pimp who knows karate? Like, is that what ends up happening?
That's Karate Pimp is the movie I think I'd like to see.
Ooh, I figure like he becomes
Hold on a second. Don't you dare keep talking, Portrais, because what we just got is a new character in the Leslie-verse. That's what that is right there. Somebody write it down. Karate Pimp, part of the Leslie-verse.
He could break 3 bricks with his pimp hand. It's strong. But
hopscotch and dome moo. I'm going to. I don't know. I tried to.
I want to talk a little bit more about this training and how it comes around. First off, they've got the big temple, and there's literally 4 people. Well, he does have some sidekicks that don't really show up until they need him to die. So there are some red shirts there. But I get the feeling through a lot of it that it's just like the Ancient One, Wong, and Mordo. So it's like the 4 of them, and it's going to get uncomfortable if you don't have more people around. But before Strange makes it to the temple, he's trying everything. He's doing surgeries on his hands in Germany and stuff. He burns through who knows how much money he had in savings or whatever. And he ends up from living, on the east side next to George and Wheezy to he's walking around like the streets of Philadelphia, the Bruce Springsteen video, the way he looked there. And he's getting ready to jump off the bridge because he's penniless and doesn't want to live anymore.
I'm sorry. I had it queued up already because we were talking about it earlier. I had to use it.
Now, and also, Bruce, I don't mean to derail you here, but basically he went from George and Wheezy to the Evanses of Good Times.
Ooh.
I like that, man. I do like that.
Nice.
Only it's after Florida's husband died, in Alaska or whatever. He's that low, but he's getting ready to jump off the bridge. A guy who he's never seen before, Wong, shows up and says, don't jump off the bridge, go to Tibet. It seems pretty simple. Like, he seems to convince him pretty easily, and then he just disappears, and he's like, okay, so I'm clearly homeless and ready to commit suicide. How do I get to Tibet? Like, he probably can't even afford toll money to get out of the city at this point, but fortunately, he has an old girlfriend who's a doctor who he just bums a plane ticket to Tibet, I guess. No questions asked.
Because they don't really go over the actual like nuts and bolts of it. She just go like he's like he goes in a time of need, and he's just like, I need a little bit of help. And she just like, she reluctantly just goes, okay, sure thing, I'll help you out. And like they cut before he just goes, I'm going to need about $50,000 because I got
I need a plane ticket to Tibet. Now, I got a few more things here too, because Gina, this is a little medical inside baseball that got me under my grill here. But Gina, the ex-girlfriend that he bums the money from, is the director of the coma ward at the hospital. Like, apparently there are so many comas going on in New York that they have a whole ward of the hospital just for comas, because in real life, you might have one person in a coma in your hospital. It's not all that common. But then
it's
she
more
says
of a coma room.
Yeah, sort of like that. They're in the the neurosurgical unit or something. They're just going to be there with other folks that are in a bad way.
They straight up had a coma wing in this movie.
Yeah, they had a coma ward, and then she drops the line, the same thing's happening at all the coma wards across the city. So I'm picturing this is a city that is just plagued with comas. Like, people wear the pink pins for breast cancer. What do you wear, like a little nap time pillow for coma awareness? They need to do something about comas in this city.
It looks like the Matrix in New York.
Yeah, exactly. But he does get the money, and, he bums the money from Gina. He flies to Tibet. Then we see him hiking up the side of this mountain with these shriveled up hands because they were damaged in the car accident. And he's like sweating, and he says, I can't go any further. And I think that would have been a great time for the camera to pan out and show that the temple was only like 12 feet from the curb where he got dropped off in the taxi, and he still couldn't make it because that's how soft he's gotten. I would have liked that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's great. It's like in real life where when you go and visit the pyramids, there's a KFC like 20 feet to the left.
But I would like it. He's crawling. The wind's blowing. He says, I just can't go any further. The camera pulls back, and the cab hasn't even pulled away yet. And it's like 12 feet.
Because there is that point where like he gets to where like he can go no further, and then the snow kind of clears a little bit, and he goes, oh well, here's the 2 pillars that lead into the joint. But you want that to happen like 5 minutes after he gets out, or 2 minutes after he gets out of the cab.
Yeah, I want to show that that's just how out of shape he is or something. And then
just one time I would like to see it where guy goes to magical temple and just gets there no problem. Just one time.
It's
like,
a breeze.
Yeah, you gotta go up the side of a mountain, but that guy's in pretty good shape. He got up there, he's like, no, it wasn't that bad. Half-day hike, I got here. It's good.
And something else that was bothering me in the flashbacks, when he's doing surgery on his sister, he's in the operating room. He's already gowned and gloved, getting ready to begin surgery, and then he reaches down and holds her hand. And all I can think is he's just ruined the sterile field. He's going to have to take that gown off. He's going to have to take the gloves off. He's going to have to scrub again, put them all back on. Not to mention he didn't even have his mask up, and he's in the OR putting that goofy little facial hair of his on every surface to contaminate stuff. That one really got under my craw, too.
Bruce, you saw the Men in Black movie we just did. Laura Florentino didn't even put on a mask while she was opening up a corpse.
Yeah, but she's only hurting herself in that situation.
Well, he's
hurting everyone involved.
He's just touching the girl he's already touched. I don't see no problem with that, and their family. So shut up.
You guys asked this question because I listen to the podcast. I listen to every podcast, even when I'm not on it. And during your Men in Black, you were like, "Hey, what happened to Linda Fiorentino?" The problem is Linda Fiorentino is a monster, and no one wants to work with her. That's why she doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I felt that.
I've heard things.
Yeah, something about the wannabe Kathleen Turner voice told me she would not be the kind of person I'd want to catch a ride to the Grand Canyon with.
Well,
I've heard it's right up there with like the Seagal stories of how bad she is.
Oh man, imagine if they got married and had a kid.
Ooh, imagine if she became a cop in New Orleans, just like Steven Seagal. Oh, I'm down for that reality show.
And I do like it, carrying this sort of kung fu. Man, I guess they were really trying to find an audience, and they thought, well, if it's going to be set in vague Asia, we need to have some vague martial arts in it, because not only does his mystical training not make sense, but he goes total Mr. Miyagi with him. It's like the wax on, wax off stuff here. Paintbrush up, paintbrush down. I mean, he's just tearing down a wall and building it back the next day or something like that. Very Karate Kid.
Yeah, but as silly and dumb as it is, I do like the whole, the wall was only in your mind. I like a lot of the mystical BS that this thing brings.
And
is there anything in this movie that surprised you? Is there one time where you were like, wow, that was surprising. That was a good turn.
Honestly, the first time they broke out the kung fu, I wasn't expecting it. I really didn't think that a wizard's duel was going to be a kung fu fight. You don't have that kung fu fighting song already queued up for me, Adam?
Crap. That'll be the closer song.
but yeah, I guess that surprised me, but not necessarily in a good way. And then they also, another little trope. It was kind of like the Dagobah Jedi training. He's in the temple for what seems like not that long, and next thing you know, he's off defeating Dormammu, and he's the Sorcerer Supreme.
Well, we didn't also talk about how, after Wong takes over the training and everything, Wong's like it just seems like they're almost like their kind of kung fu training and stuff is almost like patty cake. he's not really like the other guy was going way too hard, but it looked like Wong was just like, hey, man, we're just going to do the most light sparring we possibly can. I'm going to barely touch you, and you're going to be Sorcerer Supreme by Thursday at the latest.
And I love it.
And why is he drawn like Hunk from Voltron?
Because that was the best character in Voltron. But I also kind of thought it was funny. You know, this is the Sorcerer Supreme. He's dipping into mysticism that would blow the minds of average folks. He can access dark and mysterious magics. He has his Eye of Agamotto. He has his book. He has his magic cloak. And the most practical thing they can think of doing with magic is to make a sword appear out of thin air and then use the sword to fight with. You know what? I can just go to the sword shop over at the mall, buy myself a sword. I don't need the sorcery.
Again, I think, they could have done more things with it, but I did think that was really cool. I liked how, again, I dig the stupid, the sorcery, the magic kind of stuff. I dig all that. And it's just like the sword is as real as, your mind makes it and all this kind of garbage.
Call me old school, but
Bruce, you live near a sword shop?
Yeah, the swordfish. But when it comes to wizards battling, I'm a little old school. I like fireballs and magic missiles. That's pretty much what I want to see. Maybe a little dome around you to protect you from stuff for a little while, Gandalf style. But yeah, I like him just some magic blasts back and forth, maybe a freezing ray. Give me some of that. I've got other sources for my sword battles.
Well, the thing is, to me, I think you need the biggest combination of that stuff because you can get to the point where you're either it's just fight. And we've seen it in a lot of these superhero movies. And then you're just like, oh my gosh, could we please get to something interesting? And you also have the magic missile kind of thing. And then you're like, my gosh, could we please get to something interesting? I think you need a combination of those two things. But as I've said with all these animated programs and stuff, think about back to the stuff that you love the most. For me, that's like the Batman animated series. When you think back to that stuff, what is it that you think of? And it's never the action scenes. Almost always, it's going to be story-related stuff. It's never just like, man, I really love that action.
And I promise you, if you think of the Peter Hooten Doctor Strange, you won't think of the action scenes either.
All you'll think is people just staring at the walls.
Abbott and Costello, my man. Abbott and Costello.
I'll say that. There's a good lack of Abbott Costello in this film, and I was a little bit peeved on that.
Give me that 100 times over this thing. I enjoy watching the Peter Hooten thing.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if they were watching Laverne and Shirley in this one?
That would have been great.
Just to throw in, just because it's a.
No, you know what they have to do is they have to have the TV with the Peter Hooten on in the background.
He looks back. This guy's good.
I need to grow me one of those mustachios.
I got this goatee here at the bottom. That's got to go.
But I felt like the temple stuff, the background, getting everything set for him to become Doctor Strange takes a little long. But I'm kind of glad when the big Gamera type monster starts attacking the Sanctum Sanctorum and we get the whole bigger on the inside twist, and he realizes he flew on an airplane and climbed up the mountain when the temple has an express magic tunnel that goes straight to Greenwich Village. I'm
at least glad Wong, because he basically just goes, you flipping jerks, I was supposed to come, you made me fly all the way to Tibet and there's this back door in this hippie village over here, and he's just like, look, bro, you couldn't have gone through that door at the time. I liked how they at least had a good enough explanation. They had a guy question, hey, how come I didn't do this? And B, you couldn't have done it at the time. And just move the heck on. I like it.
And did they call the Sanctum Sanctorum the nexus of all realities?
Something like that, maybe.
Yeah, and I'm sure that maybe some folks that are more devout comic book guys than me will argue with me about it. But in my mind, the only nexus I care about is the one that's in the Florida Everglades that brought Howard the Duck so that he could meet Man-Thing.
Where's that movie at, Marvel?
It's on its way, I hope.
Wouldn't that be a good animated movie, though, for real?
I think that would be a good live-action movie. It'd be like another Rocket and Groot. You basically, Man-Thing's going to be Groot, Howard the Duck's going to be Rocket.
I like that.
And They just figure something out that way.
We'll have to settle
They've
for the
already
live
got
action.
a Rocket and Groot. What are you talking about?
Yeah, because very successful movie franchises like to stay away from formulaic ideas that make
But
lots
it's
of money.
not with the same company.
Yeah, sometimes we could break it down sometime, but you start to see as they become more successful. I feel like you start to see similar themes in their movies.
And yet you wanted to see a Captain Britain. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I do like Captain Britain.
Nobody likes Captain Britain. Come on. Even Brits are just like, this crap.
Only if Neil Gaiman will star. I don't want him to write it. I want him to actually star as Captain Britain.
They see that gangly-looking cat in that suit. I'd watch that.
British Fonzie.
Yeah. Oh, but anyway, they do get to go to the Sanctum. They do get to fight that big monster. It turns out that they're in trouble because Mordo didn't listen to what the Ancient One told him. He said you have to fight him one at a time, and he got cocky, sort of paralleling what it was like when Doctor Strange was a surgeon and didn't listen to people when they told him what to do. So now Mordo's having his own downfall. And that's when it gets revealed that Doctor Strange is the heir to the Sorcerer Supreme because it has one of those catch-22 rules where it has to go to someone who doesn't want it. If you want to be a bomber pilot, you must be insane, so you can't be one. All sane people don't want to be a bomber pilot, so only sane people can be one, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a great book.
Oh, they made a book out of that?
Yeah, it was
I
called.
was expecting something from Adam.
It was called Gone with the Wind.
Oh, man.
Made to a successful movie in 1937, the highest-grossing film of all time. Moving on.
It is the, I'll say this, Catch-22 is the best movie I've ever seen Bob Newhart in, so it's got that going for it.
There you go. Catch-22 used to be a great ska band. Now they sold out and lost their main member, who's gone on to Streetlight Manifesto, which is actually a much better band. Again,
okay.
And Bob Newhart's an elf.
There you go. It all comes together. And who directed Elf? John Favreau. That's right, kids. It's all connected.
And that proves that Bob Newhart is a swinger.
Oh, perfect. I like it. That works for me. And we get to the big giant, fighting scene, and it's like fight another thing.
Well, but the big climax comes because Doctor Strange actually starts going to this multitude of coma wards around the city and waking people up, and this causes the confrontation between he and Dormammu, or Dormammu, I think is how they say it in the movie, but I always called him Dormammu.
I liked your way better, Bruce.
Well, we're going to get emails on it. We've already gotten ones about how we can't pronounce things. And shut up those emails because we know we can't pronounce them, and we kind of lean into it, and that's what makes this show fun.
Just sounds like a nickname for my aunt. Like I would have had an Aunt Dormammu.
I got Aunt Dormammu over here, and she brought her egg salad sandwiches for everybody.
Don't make me kiss Aunt Dormammu.
She's got those
She's
sloppy
got
kisses.
that mustache in her pocket.
Yeah, but those Werther's originals were worth it, weren't they, kids? All right.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, so like he fights the thing. But I will say, I think you're right, Bruce. The big thing to me that kind of bugged me is that we do spend a lot of time at the temple and everything, and he does seem to really fall into this, into the Sorcerer Supreme role super quick and super simple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they do.
It felt like, at least with movies like The Matrix, they were just like, hey, we're going to teach you Kung Fu. They jack something in the back of your head, put all the information there, boom, you're there,
Sean,
yeah, he should at least have a moment where he's the sorcerer pretty good.
Peter,
Am I right, guys?
Yeah.
Hey, Peter
Right?
Peter Hooten had it. Huh?
Yes, he did.
He did. He wasn't the Sorcerer Supreme to the end of that crappy TV movie.
Well, the Ancient One is like Diana Ross. Even though they call you the Supremes, you're still not at her level.
That's true.
He's more like one of Patti LaBelle's Bluebells, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing, though. Diana Ross was fine by herself, but better with the Supremes.
I guess, man.
No, I'm right. But yeah, no, it leads to a big giant thing of fighting big giant demons and stuff, which again, it's not terrible, but it's not great either. That's to me, that's the roughest part of this movie.
We will be doing everyone a great disservice because hopefully they haven't actually watched the movie. They're just hearing us talk about it. We're doing them all a great disservice if we don't talk about those weird mouths with bat wings.
Oh, yeah.
Like the flying chompers. I don't know what those were called. Did you at least like that part, Sean?
No, it's all stupid. This whole movie is dumb.
I like the idea of them.
I thought they were creepy, man.
And just talking here tonight with you guys, I think I figured out what one of my problems is with the movie in particular, is that when you are the greatest magician on earth, what are you going to fight? There's nothing to fight. You're the greatest. You're the greatest sorcerer on earth. Come on. Who? I mean,
You fight Dormammu's. There's all kinds of Dormammu's out there.
Well, it's ridiculous, and again, maybe I just don't like this character. I don't know.
Maybe he should fight Superman. That's the problem they always say with Superman too.
Can't fight magic. Ooh, we got a ready to rumble here. Only if the what was it called there on MTV, Deathmatch or whatever the heck.
Yeah, Celebrity Deathmatch.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Superhero Deathmatch. Hey, here's the thing: if we get $10,000 a month on Patreon, we'll pay someone to make a claymation superhero deathmatch, and we'll put Superman versus.
Let's be honest.
We'll do way better things with that money.
That's
what
true.
they really want. They want to see Sean dressed up as Doctor Strange, Adam dressed as Superman, and just go at it in the octagon.
Well, that'd be funny. Honestly, that'd be worth money to people.
Try not to trip on your capes, guys.
That would be.
I'll be the referee there, watching for somebody to tap out.
I'm like that old fat grizzled Superman that Frank Miller would draw. That just looks like he's just had enough. Clothes are all super baggy, and just doesn't care.
I surprisingly would look completely normal as Doctor Strange. Actually,
you actually would. You would, honest to God, make a good-looking Doctor Strange.
See, it would look like. I can tell you what would happen too. Is it would look like Sean's Doctor Strange was getting ready to pin Adam's Superman for the count, and out of nowhere, you hear like one of the announcers go, "Oh, it can't be! It isn't! It's Lil Still running into the ring!"
And he's got
a Doctor Strange while the referee wasn't looking. Oh,
it's pandemonium.
And then Adam could actually use Emmanuel Lewis to hit Sean in the head.
Oh,
with
that would be just perfect.
Did you just call him Emmanuel Lewis?
Hey, I give the man a little extra syllable of respect.
So,
are you doing this? You are doing this on purpose, right? You've been doing this on purpose for 3 years, right?
Pretty much, I think. It's like,
I just embrace my nuances.
He just
I
wants
try to speak in my own affectation.
He wants to just see Emmanuel Lewis in the Emmanuel movies is what he really wants. Let's be.
Oh no, Rutger Hauer is taking advantage of Emmanuel Lewis. Oh no!
I've also called him Emmanuel before, so it just depends on the day.
That's what, him and Danny Trejo are in a movie together, buddy cop movie. Gosh, we are just right. Hollywood, why are you not on this, man? We have so many good ideas.
Now, isn't there supposed to be like a clever trick or the one weakness? You know, you've got the way that you throw the ring into the fire mountain. That's how you defeat Sauron. But here it's like, oh, you just absorb. Well, I guess we had nothing to worry about all along. You could just absorb all his power and kill him. Like he didn't have some clever secret, I don't know, eye of a newt that he crushed up and blew at him like the great Kabuki would, since we're on the wrestling theme here. He just soaked it up and he was dead. And it was like, well, that seemed a little easy.
Yeah, there's no crane kick.
Yeah, exactly, man. All that Karate Kid stuff. I expected the triple Lindy at the end.
I wanted Sergeant Kabuki, whatever his name is, from the drama films to be in this after you mentioned that.
Kabuki Man?
Yeah,
Sergeant Kabuki Man?
Yeah, Sergeant Kabuki Man, Warrior, whatever the crap his name is. Yeah, put that in there. But no, I mean, I kind of... I think I like this movie a little bit more than you guys did. But we're gonna get to the crux of all that here in just a second.
And before we finish up, there was kind of a little epilogue there where they name drop somebody that's going to show up in the sequel when they finally make it.
Yeah, that was we're coming up on a decade here, so give us a little hint of what's to come.
They name dropped Clea, man.
Yeah, and we all saw how that worked out in 1978.
Of course,
great.
In 2007, was Miss Cleo still a thing? I know she's sadly passed away not all that long ago, for a minute I didn't know if he was talking about Clea from the comics or Miss Cleo there.
I want a Cleopatra Jones in there. Now that would be a movie I would watch.
Why not, man? I like Foxy Cleopatra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, it was a nice thing, but it's one of those nice things that, like, oh, if we ever actually do anything with this, which they won't, and they haven't, so who cares? It's a sequel to a book no one will read.
I would like to strangely, I almost made an unintentional pun there, then I suddenly intended it. But I would strangely like to find out that when we go see the Benedict Cumberbatch movie, it's picking up where this left off.
Oh my gosh, that would be
This is canon.
amazing. We'll talk about it's both from Marvel Studios, my friend. So
Just imagine the opening scene. There he is making out with his little sister in the wizard robe.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
I don't want to watch that movie. All right. Well, let's get down to it. It's been a while. Bruce has done a couple. I've done several. But let's be honest, kids. It ain't the same without Keenan here. So, Sean, how does this movie relate to our good friend Sylvester Stallone?
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh, thank God.
Today's Stallone Connection comes courtesy of good old-fashioned teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work, am I right?
Amen.
There's no I in Sean, so I can't take credit for this week's Stallone Connection. It takes a village to come with a solid comedy bit, and without the efforts of one Adam Portrais, I don't think we'd be sitting here now. About to enjoy what is surely going to be an exciting verbal hedge maze that eventually brings us back to a man that describes himself as athletic, Sylvester Stallone. I don't think you all realize what a big deal it is to have Adam doing legwork here. You see, for those of you fairly new to the podcast, Adam has time and again admitted on air that he doesn't do any prep work before the show. Mm-hmm. He seems to take great pride in it, so much so that he makes that same face stupid people make when they say things like, I didn't read the book because I never read books. And I played the lottery, so one day I can just walk into work and tell my boss he's a dick. Just get a different job. But we're getting off track. I'm proud of you, Adam, because you did the research for this bit. Thank you.
Yeah.
This week's Stallone Connection brings us to the kiss, kiss, bang, bang world of sound editing. Remember when you were a kid and you thought to yourself, I'm going to spend the rest of my days in a small, dark booth, smelling my own farts and listening for audible goofs from way better looking people? Of course you do. We all did. And so did David Esparza, who happens to be the sound editor on this, quote, movie, unquote. David Esparza chose to go for the life we all just dreamed of as a child, and he went for it. And what do you know what he did? Good job by you, David Esparza. Since his work on this hobo barrel fire of a movie, he's gone on to do bigger and better things. He's worked on The Equalizer, the Magnificent Seven movie that's coming out, the new Ghostbusters movie that if you don't like it means you hate women. Big, big movies. And his finest moment would come in 2012 when he worked with a man that has surely pleasured himself while staring into a mirror, Sylvester Stallone. That movie's name? Expendables 2. And from what people tell me, it's the best of the series. I personally thought they finished the story perfectly in Expendables 1, and I didn't want to have its memory sullied for me, so I've never seen it. But I've heard it's not the worst thing you can lay eyes on, and I believe people because I've seen Doctor Strange 2007. Now, Kid Rock and Joe C., let's review this movie so we can go back to not standing for the national anthem in protest of the fact that they still haven't made a remake of Mr. Belvedere.
Oh,
Can I be the little guy?
yes, you can definitely be Joe C. He's dead, so there you go.
Pouring a little out for my homeboy.
Indeed. He was immortalized in an episode of The Simpsons, so what more could a man ask, right?
Yeah,
He did it all.
He did it all.
Chris Rockman immortalized him. Even the midget acts like he's black, I think is what he said on stage.
He was perfect. So there we go.
He was the Peter Dinklage of his time.
That's true.
He was the hip hop Peter Dinklage.
Ooh, Peter Dinklage doing the Josie story. I'm down for this.
Done.
Let's make it happen.
We have all the good ideas.
I'm telling you, Hollywood Here Movie Podcast at gmail.com. If you want us to, put us on retainer, that's all we ask. All right, so let's get down to it. For those of you new to the show, we don't have a regular star or letter grade system here. That's just silly. We've got our own silliness. It's called the Patented Robin Rating System. Bruce, where does Doctor Strange, the animated movie from 2007, fall in the official HMP Robin Rating System for you, sir?
Well, here's what I'm going to say. Now that we've spoken of this movie, I'm going to quickly forget it. There wasn't anything that stuck out to me, really. Very forgettable movie. Not the worst Doctor Strange movie I've seen, though. I will say that. I don't think I'm going to take it all the way down to Jason Todd, but it is definitely Stephanie Brown. It's like one that I'll forget that I've already seen and start to watch again and realize I've already seen it and it wasn't that great.
Okay. Kanan?
Well, now you guys, you know my theory on this. I would rather watch Peter Hooton's Doctor Strange 1,000 times because they're really going for it in that movie. You know, and there's all those weird asides and stuff. I actually loved watching that movie. I'd never watch it again, but I did like seeing it.
I was about to say, you really changed your tone over these past 100 episodes since then.
Well, think of all the good that movie has given us.
That's
man.
true. That's true.
I mean, I want to thank the makers of that movie for all they've done.
It is the gift that keeps on giving. By the way, if you want your own Peter Hooton Doctor Strange T-shirt, head on over to TeePublic. Look up HMP. You'll find one there for yourself. Knock it out.
So for me, this is the worst kind of movie we can watch because I hate things like this. It's instantly forgettable. The thing that we really didn't harp on much is just how bad the voiceover work is on this movie. It really is the level of like that Saturday morning X-Men cartoon that was on forever. It's that like, remember the woman who did Storm's voice, how bad that was?
That was bad top to bottom. They took a Canadian character and gave him an Australian accent. I don't even want to talk about how bad Gambit and Rogue were. Yeah, it's agreed.
Oh, so
what you
awful.
talking about, Shell?
Oh, my cherie, hope I don't get no idea now.
So to me, this is a Jason Todd all day. I never want to think about this movie again. I hate it so much.
All right, kids, time for the controversy. Adam is here. Now, I'll be honest, guys. I bought this on DVD like probably around 2007, and I think back then I'd watched, maybe 30 minutes of it, and then I was just like, I was pretty bored, and I was like, oh gosh, well, this is just, I'm done. I quit. So, and I did, and so it sat on the shelf for, like I said, almost a decade here. And so I picked it up for this again, and I was like, well, we'll see what's what. And I didn't hate this movie. I didn't like it by any real stretch of the imagination, but I didn't absolutely hate it. There's bits of it that I like, and it really, if anything, what this movie did was make me more anticipate the actual live-action Doctor Strange movie that we've got coming out in November. And that's essentially what this kind of episode was for us. It's just kind of like hey, let's get this out of the way, build up hopefully a little bit of steam for the upcoming movie and everything. And I think this movie did just that enough for me. So it's a very tentative, it leans a little bit more towards Stephanie Brown, but I'm going to give it a very tentative Damian Wayne here. I know it seems a little bit high, and maybe it is, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But again, I like the mystical, magical mumbo jumbo.
This is just you being a contrarian.
I wish it was. Now, like I said, there were a lot of parts in this that were pretty boring, but there were enough elements that were good to. And honestly, I think if this had been like the majority of these animated movies and been just a straight hour as opposed to hour and a half, and cut out a lot of the junky junk that really could have, let's be frank, could have been cut, it would have been an even better movie. But it's a very light Damian Wayne, but more towards the Stephanie Brown spectrum for that, for sure, though.
Yeah, I think I'm the one who's prone to rate the animated stuff the highest, and I didn't really care much for this.
See, there you go. You take the good, you take the bad. Speaking of Mrs. Garrett, so. Speaking of taking the bad, though, we're gonna have a missing person here next week, and it's not gonna be Sean. So Bruce is becoming his own little Doctor. Well, has to continue to try being his own little Doctor Strange, and has to go do his special assignments out in Tibet. So Sean and I are going to be doing it's called Doomed. I forget the full name of the thing because I don't have it up in front of me. It's basically it's a Roger Corman movie from back in the day. They did a documentary on it. It was a Kickstarter not too long ago, And we're going to be doing that on next week's show. So we're going to be reviewing that documentary, Doomed, the Untold Story of Roger Corman's Fantastic Four. So we'll be doing that.
And the truth is, I've got to go to 2 weeks of sensitivity training because at work they're telling me I'm a little too street, a little too confrontational, and they want me to learn to be less confrontational and aggressive at work. So I got to work on that.
Finally, someone is calling you to the carpet. Finally,
we didn't want to say anything, but and that's why it's just I kept going to Sean. I was like, let's just let somebody else say it, and so somebody finally did. But we're glad that you're finally getting the help that you so justly deserve.
They're trying to get me to cut down on my dirty mouth at work.
If you want to get more dirty work, head on over to thefilmfind.com, and that's where we review new releases every single week. Hey, what a segue there. And, of course, our other show still out there for those of you, and we just got a review on iTunes for Preacher Podcast. Somebody said, hey, man, so I just kind of streamlined the entire series here and listened to your podcast, and they really enjoyed it and stuff, so people are still discovering that. So, if you're just found out about Preacher on AMC, that is a podcast that's still out there and everything, so that's good stuff. Keenan, where can we find more of your work? Where can we find some of your adventures?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Hero Movie Sean, and I do respond from time to time to people. Also, I don't know why I'm putting on that voice.
I don't either, but I'm enjoying it.
And you can reach me at the Hero Movie Podcast. You can find me on Preacher Podcast from time to time. When I'm available, I do that show too. And check me out on IMDb. I'm on there too.
He's got a picture up and everything now. He's handsome as ever. And, of course, Mr. Leslie.
You're not going to see me doing much for the next couple of weeks, but I will be returning in time for the Luke Cage on Netflix show here at HMP, and I'll figure something out to do for Heroes and Villains and Chubby Wizard when I get back too. So it's all out there. It's all alive and well. Just taking a little late summer vacation.
Fair.
I'm very excited to see that. I cannot wait to see Luke Cage.
Yeah. All signs from the people who are lucky enough to get early, copies of the first 6 episodes. People are really, really, really enjoying it, and I'm kind of just heromoviepodcast@gmail.com. Marvel, we're out there. Come on. So that is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking about the documentary Doomed. For Sean Keenan, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
See you, Marty and Evie. Now I will go into my diatribe about Adidas shoes. No, I won't.
Everybody was